Game 6 here has no source of lost action, but we have a plethora of attacks. We have Legionary, Margrave, Goons, all of them making you discard. There are a few extra points on the board in Basilica and Emporium, which is below the Patrician pile, but I think one of the biggest things on the board is the Wall, which punishes you for having a very large deck. So in light of that, I was thinking, you know what, let's just get our Margrave, get some money, silvers and golds, and take apart the provinces from there. That I think is the smallest deck that I could build, which will score provinces. So I opened Dungeon Silver to try to fetch a Margrave as soon as possible. My opponent goes for Dungeon and Envoy, which is cool too if you want to perhaps get to Margrave. Instead, my opponent actually gets to 6 and picks up a Goons. So my thoughts about the Goons for this game was that I wasn't really worried about the Goons, because after some point, and some point very soon, because we have no traction on the board, everything that he buys from the Goons isn't actually going to get him any points because of the Wall. So whatever he buys, he'll get 1 point from the Goons, and the Wall will take it away. So that is why I didn't really go after a Goons strategy in this game. Instead, I chose to play the Margrave and money strategy with the odd dungeon put in here. Now, as it turns out, my opponent plays this Goons a lot. I probably have a string of 3-card hands from now until turn 20 or something in this game. But be that as it may, I'm still playing this Margrave money thing as best as I can here. So I do pick up a second Margrave here, and I am picking up, well, silvers where possible, and hopefully I can get to gold soon. In the meantime, my opponent has 4 Patricians. Now I did think about a Patrician as well here, perhaps just to get Basilica points, and maybe it could draw a gold or something. But I decided not to go for the Patrician. Instead, I rather have the gold, especially if I'm being hit by Goons this often. The gold is going to be quite a good card. So at this point, my opponent is going for something a little bit different. I say a little bit different, a lot different to the Margrave and money strategy. He has a highway, he has a few Patricians, and the Goons, of course, which he is playing quite regularly. I was amazed at that, how regularly he was playing it. I did not have a 5-card hand for so long. Anyways, so it seems like he wants to go after a lot of Patricians and Emporiums and highways, and I was okay with that because in my head there wasn't too much traction on the board, and I felt like it would be difficult for him to get all his highways down or his Patricians down to be able to buy Emporiums, because I would be hitting him with a Margrave attack, hopefully every turn, not every turn, but every other turn or so. And that would just make it that much more difficult to line everything up, especially on a reduced hand size. So that was my hope. My Margraves did not cooperate with me at all in this game. You'll see me draw so many Margraves dead. It is an absolute tragedy on this side of the board. In the meantime, my opponent continues to play the Goons here and continues to purchase a bunch of cantrips, dungeons, or whatever you can afford at the time anyway. So there, I wanted to buy a gold just to take the points off the Basilica, but as it turns out, I needed to play all my treasures to do that. Realized it a bit too late and didn't bother asking for an undo for that. My opponent was already well into his turn by the time I realized that I needed to play all my treasures to get the 2 points off the Basilica. So here I am going to finally take the last 2 points of the Basilica, picking up a third Margrave. The deck is chock full of golds and silvers. I think 3 Margraves is a reasonable amount to have in a deck here that will hopefully start to green soon. Anyways, By this point, my opponent has more than half the highways now. He could be picking up Emporiums, I believe. I'm not sure if he's getting 5 action cards in play or whatnot. Here he doesn't. But with the amount of highways he's picking up, perhaps soon that will happen. The highways and the patricians don't really work well together. I thought that's what he was going for some kind of patrician draw thing that would pick up 5 costs like the Emporiums or Treasuries or something, but he ended up going for the highways, and if you play the highways before the patricians, it makes the patricians not draw cards, which is a little bit worse for you, right? So I'm finally able to get our province. Goons comes out. If you could tell me how many consecutive turns I spent here with 3 cards in my starting hand, that would be lovely. I'm sure it's in the double digits here. Incredible. I mean, I'm not sure if my opponent was lucky to have his goons always fall that way, or if it was the dungeons actually putting in that much work and making sure that he found one of his 2 goons every single turn. 5 for me here, I don't see anything better than a duchy. Could be a horse traders, I did consider a horse traders, just to mitigate the goons attack a bit, but I felt like I had to start scoring, and eventually I hoped my deck would not, have Margrave's Collide, would draw me into lots and lots of money, like so. At this point, I'm turning down silvers, because I just don't want the negative points from the wall. I'd much rather buy a gold than a silver at this point. So another way to view the wall is that I thought of it as not being worthwhile to play a goons because you don't actually score points, but on the other hand you could think of it as, well, I'm offsetting the effect of the wall with my goons so I can still build something nice. That is another way to think about it. Maybe that's how my opponent thought about it, and here he finally manages to find a lot of highways and a sorcerer plus buyer goons here, picking up a couple provinces, and that really sinks me. I was hoping to get enough provinces to the point where he couldn't really buy anything to score points. He's restricted to 1 goons a turn here, but I was not able to get even remotely close to that goal. I was really hoping to get 5 and 6 provinces and knock out the duchies and then lock up my opponent out of the game, because there is a kind of 50% victory lock here because of the wall. But that does not end up happening. I actually do resign here. So the match finishes with 4 for me, 2 for my opponent. Here, perhaps he just outplayed me, and on the Vineyards game he was very sharp to pick that up. I have one small announcement here. ShuffleIT, the people who have made this online client, have announced an online Dominion tournament with euros to win, real euros. So I will put the link to that in the description if you are interested for signing up. Sign up ends on September 10th or 11th. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you.